Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. AI chatbots have been around since the 1960s, but thanks to massive advances in tech, they only really hit the mainstream in the past year or so. And with their revolutionary development, of course, a whole new host of issues. From writers and artists afraid of the AI takeover to ordinary citizens concerned about their privacy. And it doesn't look like the technology is going to slow down anytime soon. Just this week, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman announced some pretty big upgrades to the firm's products, ChatGPT and DALL-E. OpenAI's image generator is getting a new version soon. DALL-E 3 will be better at understanding prompts, and the company says it'll be safer to use. Earlier versions of the art tool were heavily criticized for showing bias and generating photorealistic, explicit images. Now the bot will reject creating images of public figures and will also ignore violent and explicit requests. In addition to these safety measures, the art tool will also be integrated into its brother, ChatGPT, meaning a simpler prompting process. As for the chatbot itself, the upgrade will mean that ChatGPT can now see, hear, and speak.
We want to hear a bedtime story. Tell us a story about the super-duper sunflower hedgehog named Larry. Start with telling us a little bit about him.
Larry was a unique hedgehog unlike any other. He had bright sunflower petals instead of spines.
Well, OpenAI is expanding its portfolio beyond chatbots that can tell bedtime stories, though. The company announced that it will soon roll out a text-to-speech model that can generate human-like audio from just a few words and a short speech sample. We've talked about examples of synthetic voices and copyright issues on the show before. Remember the AI-generated Drake song? But this technology won't just affect famous people. This is one of the reasons why OpenAI has not released this model publicly just yet. Back in March, some of the most powerful and influential people working in tech called for a 6-month pause in developing complex AI. The open letter had more than 30,000 signatories, including the likes of Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, as well as engineers from Amazon, DeepMind, Google, Meta, and Microsoft. Organized by the think tank Future of Life Institute, the letter made stark claims that AI systems with human competitive intelligence can pose profound risks to society and humanity. Concerned about the extraordinary pace of AI development, the signatories called on all AI labs to immediately pause for at least 6 months the training of AI systems more powerful than GPT-4, the language model that powers ChatGPT. Well, 6 months on, and it appears that plea has fallen on deaf ears. Jan Tallinn joins us now from Estonia. He's from the Future of Life Institute, which penned the landmark open letter calling for a pause in developing powerful AI systems. He's also a founding engineer of Skype and file-sharing app Kazaa. Jan, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, it doesn't seem from where I'm standing that AI developers heeded the plea to halt development and take stock of its potential dangers.
Yes, indeed. But to be honest, like the kind of real goal of the letter wasn't to get like immediate pause. It was basically to create this common knowledge that more and more people are worried about the trajectory and kind of sound this alarm of the future risks that might not be in the very distant future anymore.
Your organization's open letter states that sophisticated AI systems more powerful than GPT-4 are a threat to humanity. Now, are we talking about the classic Hollywood sci-fi doomsday trope of AI becoming sentient?
Alan Turing, the founding father of computer science, wrote already in 1951 that once the machines reach the level of intelligence of humans, we should expect to lose control shortly after. And whenever you lose control, as other species on this planet or that have gone extinct might testify, is that you find yourself in a very uncomfortable position. So in particular, I am worried about things like AI starting to do geoengineering or things that would just make this precarious environment that you're going to need to continue our existence, to sustain ourselves, to sustain other species. It might just kind of wipe out this environment in a way that we just die.
Okay, so that was a very much scary doomsday sort of scenario. Do you see a situation where there's a happy scenario for AI and how it could actually improve our day-to-day?
Of course, I do think that especially the kind of the short-term AIs, they, with the exception of taking up people's jobs increasingly, I do think they are great tools. They do make our lives easier, more interesting. There will be more content, and the decisions that go into things like healthcare, etc. We should expect them to improve. However, we shouldn't kind of like let ourselves kind of get like a full sense of security and not think about where this thing is going, because AI is a moving target and human intelligence is not. So we should think about how can we retain control.
Right, and governments are taking the threat of AI very, very seriously. We've seen the US Congress meeting tech bigwigs like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Sam Altman to discuss regulating AI. And in November, there will be a World Leaders Summit in the UK. Now, what policies would you like governments to adopt?
So, I mean, if it were up to me, I would just kind of make a global moratorium on pushing the frontier models, because the current paradigm of large language models, they are building uncontrollable AIs. The way large language model training works is that there is so-called pre-training phase, during which developers do not have much control over what's happening in these large server farms. And once they stop this pre-training, they actually kind of take the AI out and start training it to be kind of like human compatible, to be friendly, to be aligned, etc. And they usually are not very successful in that. Like as we've seen with more and more kind of interesting behavior, such as we saw with Microsoft Bing or all these like so-called jailbreaks.
And how would we see the world as a whole adopting a policy such as that? It would be quite difficult, seeing as different jurisdictions worldwide in different countries as well.
Oh yeah, so I do think that it is difficult, and in the long run there is a need for kind of global consensus on regulating this technology, because like if one country does it, that's not enough. But I'm going to remain optimistic that first of all, we have done such things before, although in lower stakes situations such as human cloning. Human cloning is illegal globally, so it's not happening. So we can do it. The other thing I really want to commend the organizers of the UK summit. From what I heard, there was like an intense discussion of like to what degree should China be invited. And I think the current decision is really, really good that they did invite China. And I think China should be part of this discussion, because obviously they are a really big player.
Thank you, Jan, so much for those insights into AI and how it could develop in the years ahead. Gymnastics Ireland has been criticized for an 18-month delay in issuing an apology after a young Black gymnast was snubbed at an awards ceremony. A video of the event in March last year shows a judge handing out medals to a line of young gymnasts, but ignoring the only Black girl. Also seen in the video are a coach and other officials who failed to intervene in front of hundreds of spectators. When the family of the young girl complained, Gymnastics Ireland officials declined to attend mediation, let alone investigate or make any public announcement. Meanwhile, the video went viral, attracting millions of views, including the world's most famous gymnast, Simone Biles. The former Olympic and world champion tweeted that the video had broken her heart, so she sent her a video. adding there is no room for racism or in any sport or at all. Another Olympian and former world champion Jordan Childs also reached out. Gymternet, please help me find this little girl. This is beyond hurtful on so many levels. Ireland's sporting authority dug in, saying the girl's treatment wasn't racist. And as the controversy rumbled on, the country's sports ministry said the young gymnast had been badly let down. Finally, after the girl's family contacted Sports Ireland, the Olympic Federation, and the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission, Gymnastics Ireland issued an apology on Monday this week. As I said, 18 months after the incident, Gymnastics Ireland posted on its website to unreservedly apologize to the gymnast and her family for the upset caused. It should not have happened, and it's deeply sorry. Referring to the lack of engagement after the incident, it also apologized for that, since that delay has caused further upset. All right, our next story is that time of the month when many people are thinking about how to stretch what's left in the kitty until payday. Some folks are naturally good with making their money grow. Others look for advice, and nowadays those financial tips are not just coming from the suits.
If you want to save your first 100K, you need to create a zero-based budget. Zero-based budgets are super effective because they allocate every dollar you earn to either an expense or a financial goal.
The first 20% of your paycheck always goes into savings and investments. The next 30% of your paycheck needs to be going towards your rent or paying down a mortgage. If it's a mortgage, this can be as high as 35 to 37%, but if it's higher than that, you're probably living a little bit too lavishly for the amount of income that you generate. The next 10 to 15% of your paycheck can go towards your transport or your vehicle. But if you are paying more than 15% of your monthly income on your vehicle, it is way too much and you need to find a better option. Next up is 20% for your food and drinks. This includes eating out, this includes your regular day-to-day, and this also includes your cocktails and your bottles of wine. If it's over 20%, you are spending way too much. And that final 10 to 20% that's left over is for anything you want it to be. It could be travel, it could be your Netflix subscription, a new set of clothes.
Took my net worth from negative 15K to 100K so far in my 20s, and if I could give my 18-year-old self one piece of money advice, here's what it would be. It is not enough to create a budget. It's not even enough to create a budget and track your spending. There are 3 total steps to successful budgeting, and in order for any of the time that you spend on your budget to be worth it, you need to do all 3. The first step is obviously creating your budget to estimate where you want your money to go. The second step is tracking your spending to see where your money is actually going. The third step, and the step that a lot of people forget or just are afraid to do, is reflection. You need to take time to compare your budget to your actual spending. I even catch myself doing this. If I know I'm having a high spend month, I won't want to look at my totals or reflect on my purchases, but it's so important. You aren't going to be able to change any behavior if you don't analyze what that behavior is.
Dishing out tips on what to invest in and how to save money is picking up on social media sites. The so-called finfluencers range from your average Joe to big-wig investment advisors. But the main man Gen Zers are turning to for financial advice is Humphrey Yang. The 35-year-old from San Francisco with 3.3 million followers on TikTok is breaking down everything from how tax brackets work, lottery payouts are organized, as well as how to make money and spend it wisely.
Here's how you can get banks to pay you. Seriously. All banks pay a certain amount of interest depending on how much you have saved with them, and most notably, big banks pay about 0.42% in interest every year for you saving money. And that's not a lot of money. On a $10,000 deposit, you get $42 back for saving with the big bank over the course of a year. These big banks realized decades ago that people aren't going to move their money out of them because most people are just too busy. But here's the thing, you're leaving money on the table because right now interest rates are high, which means that many banks are paying a much higher rate of up to 4.00% APY in their high yield accounts alone. Ally, for example, pays up to 5 times the national average savings rate, and on a balance of $10,000 in savings, that's going to be $400 per year in interest, risk-free. Here's how you can identify a pyramid scheme. The top of the pyramid is usually a person who recruits people below them, and those people under them are promised big profits if they can recruit more people. There's also 3 main things you can look for. Number 1, there's always a buy-in to whatever organization it is, and it's usually called a startup fee or an education fee. Second, there's always emotional selling involved. They tell you that you can quit your job and be rich, work fewer hours, etc. Third, there's no actual product. Oftentimes a pyramid scheme will say they're selling a system or some new investment method. Your income is based mainly on the number of people you recruit, not the sales of products. It's best to be skeptical of any opportunity that seems too good to be true.
That seems sensible, right? Well, social media sites are packed with advice on how to make your bucks grow. But be wary, it's not all legit.
Seen a lot of financial gurus spouting trash financial tips and money advice. Here are 4 things these hustlers are not telling you. Day trading. 85% of people lose money in the long term. I hate to break it to you, you will not be the exception. Debt. It's not evil. You do not need to be 100% debt free. I'm not. I have a mortgage. In fact, every rich person you know, your favorite celebrity, probably bought their house with a mortgage. Because if you can borrow money for cheaper than what you can make with it, you've created a money printer. When poor people borrow money, we call it debt, but when rich people borrow money, we call it leverage. Starbucks is not the reason you can't afford a house. If you cut out a $5 latte every day, in a year, you'd save $1,825. You can't buy a house with that, but you could buy something cooler than coffee. And last, you should not cancel old credit cards. It will shorten your credit history and it will ding your credit score. Just downgrade the card instead.
And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.